Welcome to the Lost Signals Discusses Literature,
where we apply the revolutionary Mott skill
to classic and contemporary works of prose.
So, join us once again, won't you?
Hello, and welcome back to the Lost Signals Reviews Literature. Tonight we are talking about a short story by Mary Robinette Kowal called Evil Robot Monkey, and I will be your host, Steve Ramosi, joined by Ian Manzer.
More like, I would say, morally confused robot monkey.
And Scott Thurlow.
I just want to make clay pots. Is that so wrong, man?
I think you guys have hit on some things that we're going to talk about in this episode, but let's throw to Scott for the funny logline.
Yes, perhaps obvious, but we have chosen, or collectively, we're going with monkey hate technology and humans hate the monkey.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love it.
And if you get that joke,
Good on
you know a meme from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Let's get started with the plot. I'm gonna go with that. So I'm gonna get started on that. And basically, the entire idea is you meet this monkey who is smarter than the average monkey, and a class of school children comes by to see him. The monkey's name is Sly, by the way, in case you're interested. This class comes by to see him, and they kind of mock him and he gets to the point of anger, throws he's making pottery, as is his wont, and he throws his pottery wheel at the window and gets furious, and then makes some lewd gestures to the teacher. The class is ushered away after that, and then
someone has to think of the children, man.
Yeah, won't somebody please think of the children? And then his handler, Vern, comes in and talks to him a bit, calms him down. I think that this ends off on a very high note where Vern says that, like, you know, the boss has said that he has to take away his clay because he got angry, but Vern says, "I'm not going to clean your mess up for you. You have to do it yourself," which makes Sly angry at first, but then he realizes that that was Vern's way of leaving him some clay so he could, you know,
continue
working on it, what he was, continue his pottery. And that's where it kind of ends. So it's a really short story, but I think pretty poignant, and I enjoyed it. I'm looking at a strong 2, if not a 3 for this, just because I kind of enjoyed the way that the plot played itself out throughout the entire thing. Although I'm probably going to land on the side of it too.
So I like slice of life stories, and this is truly one, except it's the slice of life about a technologically enhanced
with a twist
chimp,
yeah,
who finds solace in art, but is surrounded by people who wish him to be a chimp, and there's a really tragic moment in there where he's like, "I am too intelligent to be a monkey, and I am
not human enough.
Too much of a monkey to be a human." Yeah.
And I must say, though, I'm going to give a little story here. Apologize ahead of time.
Go ahead.
One of the great moments of my childhood was going to the zoo, and where I was looking. I enjoy primates. I think they're amazing to look at. And one grabbed, I think it was a spider monkey, grabbed a vine to swing and decided to begin urinating so that he, almost like a World War II gunner jet, aimed at a bunch of elderly people.
Nice.
And doused all of them. It was fantastic. And that's what I don't go to see them make pottery. I go them to see them
Be animals. And
piano.
mess with old people.
Yes. But no, I definitely thought that I really grasp the tragic nature of this creature in a very short story, and it left an imprint in me, like an emotional one, if not a narrative one. But I felt very strongly coming out of this, and feeling a great pathos, as Chris would say, for this creature. So I might give it a 3.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm looking at a solid-ish 2 for sure. Like, yes, this is another short story which we happen to do back to back, and then may not be releasing like near each other in episodes, but it's just that the fact that they combine with the Bradbury story we did. However, I do think this one's a bit stronger. I think you've certainly seen this idea, like it's almost a Frankenstein story, like pretty much without like all the subtlety and nuance because it's only 3.5 pages or less.
But to be fair, it's more of the original Frankenstein story than it is the films.
No, I agree with that for sure. It goes to the core root of the themes and so forth, which we'll speak about in a second. I'm just saying, like overall, and maybe the points that I'm making here will also come out in Antagonists and/or Protagonists, but I'm looking at a strong 2. I enjoyed it. It's, again, a nice quick read. It has something to say. It certainly can leave an impact. I'm not sure if I'll remember it like all that well in a week or two, but upon reading it, I enjoyed it, and I think it did what it set out to do quite well. Just not strong enough for a 3, but a damn strong 2 on my end.
It's a difficult decision for me. Ian, I think that your argument and your strength in choosing to give this very short story a 3 might sway me into giving it a 3. So I think I'm gonna go with 3. So that's gonna be a 3, and a 2, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, like I said, I see you guys giving it full credit, but I'm giving it like 80%, 90% credit.
You've also in the past have said that slice of life stories aren't necessarily
that is true as well. It's a slice of life sci-fi story. You're right. Like so, it sort of like touches both bases, but just on this one, I might at this point maybe reserve a 3 for like a super strong story, which I don't think this was, but I think it was a good, well executed story.
Yeah, I do think it. I do think it executed on all fronts for me. So yeah, I'll stick with a 3.
Sure. And I don't begrudge you.
And we'll stick with that. And let's move on to themes. Ian.
Well, what I really got out of it, and as I further myself in my education, in grad school and whatnot, I felt a very. I feel a bit like a
stuck between worlds
with a technology upgraded chimp, in that, and I feel that between two worlds aspect that is dealt with in this, of a character who obviously is very, perhaps not intellectual in a sense, but is far beyond the rest of his species, very artistic, and does not want to be a specimen on
display and stuff.
On display, exactly. And it's dealing with a situation that I never thought I would have to deal with while reading a story, and this is fascinating. Like I felt that it's an accurate portrayal of a creature in this situation,
stuck in this like hellish spot,
right?
And the frustration it feels in living between those two worlds, and I don't know, it worked really well for me.
I mean, I agree with that. Yes, certainly, I think that's the if not obvious, but most well explored theme again in the shorter-ish story. But of course, I'm going to add on to like man playing God. They mess around. Like, let's see what happens when we basically like shove a magical or a technological piece of advancement into a monkey's skull, into a primate skull, and like, and now it's supposed to be like an amusement for us, or we're studying it for science, if you will, but without undertaking or considering the feelings of the creature itself we're messing with.
I would say though that that's really downplayed in this, and what's really important as far as themes go is the feelings of Sly himself.
Sure, of course, of the quote-unquote monster, or the the mishmashed together creature.
Because that's who you're seeing this story through.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you're wrong.
What I really like about it is that you really get this sense of in-betweenness.
Yes.
And I think that's the major part of the theme, is like this idea that
like you're neither one
this
tribe
idea
nor
that
another.
is very relatable for
Mm.
a lot of people. It's
Yep.
like I don't necessarily fit into one side or the other, and I think that happens all the time, and that makes this story really relatable. And that comes in to a lot of things. There's well, I won't go into it in-depth details, but there are a lot of people that can relate to
Yes.
the idea that they don't exactly fit in any group, and I think that is what kind of this story really focuses on and really is really about, and I think that's a really strong theme in it.
No, I agree. Like I said, the other one I said, like the humans playing God, is sort of a backdrop. But like you guys are absolutely right. The feeling of like disjointedness being like neither one tribe nor another, like too good for one but not accepted in the other one.
That inherent isolation.
Yeah.
And this one's just for me. It's Sly without the family stone.
Damn it! That should have been a lockdown. That's really good, dude.
All right.
Either way, though, strong
One's
one,
all around?
Yeah, strong one on themes.
All right. Sounds good. Scott, why don't you do Antagonist?
So maybe we can unfold it. It sort of like flows into the antagonist thematically, what we just said, right? Like, certainly Sly, the character, feels antagonized by his position. What's been basically he's forced into this. Like he didn't, I assume, like a la Deus Ex, he didn't ask for this, right? So like now he's sort of been given, quote unquote, a gift of intelligence, but therefore
But at what cost?
Yeah, exactly. Because of that, now he is neither part of his original like species / tribe, nor is he accepted in the one that did like quote unquote helped him, gifted him in as well. So, and he just wants to like he's discovered art, right? So he basically just wants to be left alone to do his art, but never will be because he's being pulled from both sides of the both directions. So yeah, I think that's maybe like a nebulous antagonist. Probably you're gonna say like the asshole kids, like yes, a la the other story we did at least tonight.
It's an existential crisis.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
And the kids and all that are part of it, but really it's him not knowing
Right, where he belongs
What he
and what to
is,
do.
yeah.
No, I definitely agree with that. So I think that certainly is possibly the strongest and best antagonist, one of the ever, faceless, nameless horrors that you can face as a sentient being.
I think it's such an interesting thing, and perhaps even tying into themes is like the idea that he is in a prison that has given him the ability
To know that it's a
understand
prison.
that he
Yeah,
is in prison.
Exactly, good call.
And like that's fascinating to me. It is like this existential thing, like more so than a lot of other things. Like
it's not a prison in the sense that he did anything wrong and is being punished for. He's
exactly.
He's in a cage.
He's in a cage,
literally
yeah.
trapped through no fault of his own.
Yeah,
He's aware of
exactly.
that.
Right.
It's awful.
It is, but it's also like what I like about this is he still finds his things that make him laugh, or like things that make him. He understands like the irony of things. I guess like
He understands the hell.
there's an entire paragraph talking about how he bares his teeth and it looks like a grin to the people, but it's really like a
sign of aggression. Yeah.
But still, like there's a line that says "still grinning." He wrote SSA on the window. Outside it would be read as S.
Yeah.
And like that's hilarious to me. Like it's really funny, but like also really sad. Like at the same time, like within like 3 sentences.
Yeah, it's bittersweet.
The author Kowal, Mary Kowal, imparts this like amazing complete like 360 or like both sides of the coin type view.
It's an early
of,
character moment that
what's going on with with Sly, the character Sly. But that's for Protagonist, I suppose. Like really what it is like this like understanding. I don't know. I think it's the deeper thing, like I mentioned earlier. It's that understanding that you are imprisoned, that you're caged, and knowing that the only reason that you know you're caged is because people have given you the intelligence to understand that.
Yeah.
And like that's such a mind fuck, Like I like that a lot about this.
Yeah, it's a Dantean, if you will, punishment.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it Antagonist a 1.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, now that's gonna go to a Protagonist with me. obviously there's Sly, the
Evil robot monkey.
chimp that we've been talking about, the evil robot monkey that we've been talking about, and
Should just call
very
Sorry, should just call him Gunther the whole time as a reference. But
yeah.
let's not-
Well, I was
let's not
going
do
to bring
that.
up that I was going to bring up that reference at some point.
Go
But
ahead.
like, there's an old Futurama episode where Gunther is a monkey who gets a hat, and because of the hat, he's smart. Anyway, you guys know that, or you don't. Regardless, in terms of protagonist, I think that Sly is a really interesting character and really fleshed out, especially in terms of the 3 pages that he gets, 2.5
Two and
pages that he
change,
gets. This is a very short story that has an impressive amount of characterization and like fleshing out this character over the course of that in a very small amount of prose. And I'm gonna give Protagonist a 1. I'll leave off here for
I kind of hinted at it prior, but this a character that I empathized with quite a bit. And considering how short this work is, and also considering that it is inherently an alien creature, it doesn't exist in reality, and I still felt for him. I understood his struggles, and I want to see him succeed. And even that small glimpse of at least he has a little bit of clay left over from it at the end, I'm like, that gives a little bit of hope for a really dire situation.
Yeah.
I'm going to give it a 1.
Yeah, as you guys said, it's quite impressive that you get so much out of this character in such a short span, and a lot of it, like you said, like it's funny, like technically there are no evil like monkeys in planet with intelligence enhancing technology as of yet. However, the fact that his plight like exemplifies, as we discussed in Themes and Antagonists, like something you can identify with.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's very effective, and I think I'll also join giving it a 1.
yeah.
And also, I just want to dealing with the rage of both his inherent
Like primal
self
instincts, yeah.
and also his situation, and him having the knowledge to know that he has to restrain it, but giving into it and being punished for it. It's a very nuanced character.
Like I said, an Inferno-ish.
I would actually wonder, like, just talking about this, and I know I mentioned this earlier, but like, there's that episode of Futurama that really, really reminds me of this whole thing. Like, I wonder if
I mean, you always
the
can't help it if
author
you've seen it.
was somewhat influenced by this, because I think this is fairly new.
The problem was Gunther became smug for comedic effect in the Futurama episode.
Right,
Where
because
this one, it's more of a not a comedy, but a tragedy.
It's more down to earth.
it is.
Yeah, gritty.
It is, but like, I wonder if that's like, that taken to its
Like,
logical...
yeah, I want to explore that further. You're saying, yeah.
to its logical, like, dramatic extreme, as opposed to just playing that idea for a comedic effect, because there is like all of the things that Sly goes through in this are kind of the things that Gunther goes through in that episode of Futurama, which is such a ridiculous thing to say, I think, but like, it is kind of, I don't know, I think it's a decent
No,
parallel.
Del-
It is,
Yeah.
but it's. I would only argue in that while the same plot points are hit in a way, it's done through different.
The way they
genres.
explore
It is,
Yeah.
for sure.
But yeah.
Anyway, I think it's going to be 1s all around for Protagonist, and let's go to supporting with Ian.
So I like Vern. Was it?
Yes.
Vern.
It gave.
I like to imagine him as the Vern from all the Ernest movies.
Okay.
I actually could see that in a way,
Right.
like because Vern is from what we understand, the one person who kind of gets, or at least sympathizes with the plight. But other than
He's like,
Vern,
what's his name in Planet of the Apes?
there's no real other secondary characters.
They're all
Mm.
background. Yeah.
So I don't know if Vern can elevate this to a 1.
I don't think so. Like, again, it's like sort of a default thing, not a fault of the story per se, but all the it almost goes all to antagonists. So whatever, like the school troop and their teacher, like are just there to serve like a thematic device, essentially, a thematic point. And yes, Vern is like there as a character as well, but only bare bones again. He's just like not even like the connection between the two, or supposed to be, but you do get his sympathy towards Sly for sure, of course. But I don't think there's enough there other than that to like warrant a 1 in this case, so that's my argument for it.
I don't know. So here's my issue with giving Vern a 1, and it's a very superficial one. I don't think that the story is a 10 story, and if I give Vern a 1 right now, I'm going to give this story a 10.
Okay.
However, I do think that Vern is central and really important to the story. I almost have to give him a 1. Like, he is the impetus for the most touching part of the story at the very end, where he says, I'm not going to take that clay away from you. That whole back and forth right at the end there is super important to the story. Like, very much makes Sly the character that he is. Like, not makes Sly the character that he is, but like
elevates,
gives Sly the ending that you want for him, I guess. And like, Vern is a somewhat complicated character who, like, Sly is kind of angry with him at points, but like, he's his friend, so he like pushes it down, like learning how to like, or has already learned, but perhaps we were seeing the struggle to like, deal with his primal emotions, as opposed like use his intellect to deal with his primal emotions via his conversations with Vern and things like that. Like, I think I have to give Vern a 1 in terms of this. I don't want to, because it's the only one that I could give a 0 to, but I think I have to.
Damn you, Steven, because this was my also. In a sense, I went in with an out, and you make a very fair point. And granted, their interaction at the end is now. Granted, I was sympathetic, but that really gave it the heart of the story.
Yeah,
and Vern is, because he can't outright saying, "I'm going to leave you a little bit of clay." He goes like, "I'm
not cleaning up your mess. I think
I have to act this way, but figure it out on your own, you mechanical evil monkey." and it does, and he initially has that, like, how dare you take the clay? I want to get angry. Oh no, it was actually a gesture of goodwill,
right?
And it is very touching. And
okay,
and I honestly think that is
son of a bitch.
I honestly think that's the only, like, because it's such a short story, there's very little room for like quote unquote character growth. But that's like a point where Sly makes a leap that he had not been able to make before. Like, so you literally
and he puts together easily enough.
You literally see him, the Sly, understand something that he was unable to understand before that. Yeah. And I think that's fucking brilliant.
You say easily enough, but you actually see his logical. He's describing to you
at that point,
the logical progression of it.
Yeah,
you're right. That wasn't the phrase I wanted to use, but like, he puts together because he's been like sort of balanced into it. So I think you might have convinced me too. And actually, I'll add on. I don't have to take it out because I'm not giving it a 10 anyway previously. However, there was a line where Vern out in front of Sly, closer than anyone else would have come when he wasn't sedated. It would have been so easy to reach out and snap his neck.
Yeah,
like, I think that says a lot about Vern's character as well, and everything you guys just added. So yeah, I think I'm going to switch to a 1. Good job, my friends.
Exactly. All right, cool. So this one's all around for supporting, and then dialogue, Scotty.
So this one's a little tricky too. So there's technically no one says anything. It's all sign language, of course, because that's how Vern communicates with Sly. And there's not even that much.
But it is all in dialogue, like in terms
sure,
of the
it's
story.
in quotes. I get it. But this one, I'm kind of torn about one. And the way you were torn, I think, just previously in the couple questions before, Steve-O, I'm not sure, because it all works well given what we just said about the characters, who they are, and what needs to happen, and the final like note of hope there at the end. But I don't know, like, taken at face value, if I can give it a 1 either. Like, it's tricky. I'm not opposed to it by any means. So I'll open up. Go ahead.
So you brought up Gunther earlier. Do you even remember Amy? Ever Conga?
No, I don't think so.
Was that?
Congo.
Oh, I remember. Oh, the movie. Oh,
Well,
yes.
it's a Michael Crichton novel
Yeah.
prior to
Yeah.
And then
the-
yes, that's right.
But
Yeah.
I read the
sign
book.
language, chimpanzee, and all that. It is like this actually weirdly has history to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's. I want to hear what you have to say about dialogue.
So as far as the dialogue goes, I think that it is kept simple on purpose, obviously. But I think there is more than one. Obviously, at the end, there's more than one level to what is being said. But I think that like a lot of it is like Vern trying to trying to be a friend, and B trying to like impart something to Sly. And I think Sly is also trying to do the same thing to Vern, like trying to make him understand where he's coming from. I think there's actually a decent amount of embedded meaning within this dialogue, and I think for that reason alone, I have to give it a 1. I'm gonna.
Oh, were you about to read something?
No.
Oh.
I said I'm gonna give it. Or I was
Pass it off so you can read some, maybe.
I'm just taking a look over quickly to see if.
All right. So while you peruse it, yeah, I think that's a pretty good, a solid starting point to be convinced. And I'm actually reading it a bit myself again in front of me. So I think the double meaning thing kind of is pretty good, Steve-O. Like it's sort of, if you will, because of the implications, or like because of the leap that we mentioned earlier, especially at the ending exchange. So yeah, I might be. I'll give it maybe a soft 1, but possibly, I'm okay with giving it a 1. Really on that front.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read a bit, if you don't mind.
Okay.
I have to take the clay. You understand that, don't you? Sly nodded again, staring at his vase. It was beautiful. Vern scowled. The woman makes me want to hurl feces. Sly snorted at the image, then sobered. How long before I get it back? Vern picked up the bucket of clay next to the wheel. I don't know. He stopped at the door and looked past Sly to the window. I'm not cleaning your mess. Do you understand me?
Yeah.
And I don't know. Overall, it does work for me as dialogue. I think that their relationship, I think, as you guys brought up, is really shown throughout all of, and the complexity of Sly's speech.
Some of it might be in the style, but I think at this point, yeah, I'm okay with giving it a pretty decent 1. In fact, for all that.
Yeah, I completely. I don't know. I like, Vern says at the beginning, we should have warned you they were coming. And then Sly says, you should have told them I was not an animal. I did, they're kids. And like, there's this like whole really interesting dynamic that they have, is like trying to make Sly understand like the human world, and Sly trying to make Vern understand his world.
Yeah.
And like there's this whole like really fascinating thing that goes on between the two of them that I really dug a lot. So I'm going to give it a pretty strong 1, actually.
Just one last point, I think, to solidify my 1 here. It's not dialogue in a weird way. It's the juxtaposition of the dialogue versus the inner thoughts of Sly.
Yeah.
Where, as you brought up earlier, I could have ripped his throat out. Like, you see the primal instinct versus the advanced, or the intellect that has been programmed into his brain.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, it's earned the 1 there.
All right. Sounds good. 1's all around. And let's go on to style. It's going to be me. I really, really dig the style of this, just for the feeling that I got from it. It starts out with a lot of exposition, but quickly goes...
I want to say, dude, sorry, Steve-O, I want to say not even that much. Like, enough that you need, but not overly so, right? It's not overbearing, I guess.
There's like 4 or 5 paragraphs of exposition, then quickly goes into dialogue, and I don't know. It's not. There's not like anything really groundbreaking or super fascinating about the style of this. I just think it's like solid stylistically, and like comes from a place where it makes me really see the situation that's going on. When Vern comes in, I feel like I'm kind of almost in Vern's place, like walking into that, into the, you know, the cage, quote unquote, where Sly lives, and I feel the almost like oppressive air that Sly feels, but I also feel like
it's like you're in the cage,
the open arms
with him,
that that Vern is trying to convey, and like trying to make him feel more free than he is almost. And I think I feel both of those. So I like the style a lot, and that's all I'll say about that.
I'll say it this way. It's a simple style. Like, it's not overly like trying to impress you or anything, but I think at this point I might say it's harder to do that without, you know, like, it's almost easier to be like all flowery and stuff. If that's like to me, like, it's stuff, right?
Yeah.
But this is very like it's short sentences, but round out the world. They're not dry by any means. So I think, like I said, it's kind of a hard. I couldn't do it myself even when I used to be writers. So the way that Mary Kowal did it here, I think, is quite impressive. That the fact that it's engaging, and again, it doesn't distract you, I guess, is what I want to say, with like throwing too much in there.
Right.
It's nice to the point, but it also has enough there to engage you throughout.
So tomorrow, on the recording of this podcast, we're going to be reviewing Heart of Darkness, but that's going to be released prior to the release of this episode.
Time warp.
Yeah, exactly. And that Heart of Darkness is all about the savagery of man, inherent in the civility, being a facade on the face of it, and the way that this author describes that primal urge versus the intelligence, and the deft touch of displaying both the inherent anger, the inherent like unfairness of things versus how can I make the best of bad situation, and how can I actually assess a situation, like for instance Vern giving Clay but while taking it away at the same time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of deft touch in this.
Yeah.
And that's why I will give it a 1 for it.
Agreed.
All right.
As well.
Sounds good. Ones all around. And Ian, recommend.
Oh, certainly. I think this was a fascinating work. I don't even have to give any caveats to it. I think it's worth reading.
Yeah, I pretty much agree. Did you say, Steve, where you found this, in fact? Did you mention that?
It was on a list of short stories. I don't even remember exactly.
Short stories in general, or like short sci-fi stories or something?
No,
like
it wasn't
that? Just
sci-fi
random?
specific.
Okay.
It was just
But yeah,
best short stories that you should read or something like that.
I think this might be somewhat of a diamond in the rough. I absolutely would recommend it. I'm unfamiliar with the author, and I would like to check out more of her stuff at this point. But yeah, this one being like an introduction, just randomly chosen out of a hat, if you will. Hell yeah, it was a damn good story, damn enjoyable, and for all the reasons we pretty much said leading up to right now.
Yeah, it's one that really sneaks up on you. I'm going to give it a 10 for sure. I do recommend it. I'm not sure that I would say it's the perfect short story by any means, but in
it's
terms
damn
of
well done.
In terms of the way that we rate things, I enjoyed every single piece of this story, and I think that it is a really, really good one. I think that it is one that should be read by anyone who wants to read some good short fiction. It's very short. It's probably, let's see,
I would say about
2.5
1,000
pages.
words or less.
Maybe it's like 1,200 words or something like that. But definitely worth a read. And that's basically all I have to say about it.
Yeah,
It's
good find, kind of a diamond in the rough, if you will.
Yeah. So that's all of us.
So what do we got?
Scott, you're the low end of the poll over here with a 9, and myself and Ian gave it a 10.
Wow. Okay.
For a what is that? 9.66.
Yeah.
Repeating, of course.
Repeating, of course.
And yeah, so pretty damn good story. Evil Robot Monkey by Mary Robinette Kowal.
Check it out.
I actually love the title because you go in with a complete
It sets
different
up something.
You don't really
impression
understand
than
what it's
what-
going to be.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
that's part of style, but you're right. Like that's a good point. A good little add-on at the end.
Completely agree. But so I think that's going to do it for us. I have been your host, Steve Ramosi, joined tonight by Jonathan, Ian, Manzer,
And wine.
and Scott Thurlow.
SSA. Good night. See
Have
you
a good
next
night.
time.
Editing and engineering by Stephen Hermosi. Music by Christopher Morgan. Check us out on YouTube and iTunes for the shows, and on Facebook and Twitter for updates.